Hello everyone, my name is Thunderbolt and this is my Dragon Ball Z Power Scale series. I've always wanted to make a video like this, okay, because I am a huge fan of Dragon Ball Z. Actually, I'm a fan of all Dragon Ball shows, yes, even GT, I like that one as well. Except for a bit of the first arc, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, this power scale is going to be manga only, okay? And there are two reasons why I wanted to make this series. Reason number one is because I was inspired by a YouTuber called SAIYAN Scholar, okay? I have huge respect for the guy, but there were times when I thought that some of his readings were a little bit wrong. Okay, so I wanted to see if I could do my best and come to the most accurate power scale readings possible. And the second reason why is because obviously there are a lot of power scale videos out there for Dragon Ball Z. Okay, everyone has their own headcanons, their own speculations. I get that. But the one thing that is common in all of them that I found was that everyone relies on the Daisen shoes, Chosen shoes, all those guidebooks for the numbers. For example, the Daisen shoe is what states that a Super Saiyan is 50 times that of your base power, right? And those guidebooks are made by Toei Animation, right? And full respect to them, I'm sure that they've done their own research, but there have been many times where a lot of things in the Daisen shoes have been retconned, and there are also many inconsistencies that a lot of fans have found online. And I get it, it's Dragon Ball and it's headcanons and it's mostly gonna be inconsistencies, but I decided that I wanted to start my research from scratch. Originally this video was gonna be about the Android saga or the Cell saga, because we knew all about power levels up until the Frieza saga. I think Frieza saga is when the power levels were last relevant, right? But then I realized that if I am to doubt the guidebooks, then why not just start all the way from the beginning? And we found some interesting things, okay? I found some interesting things. You'll see, I'll show you. So this is part 1, Saiyan Saga, and I don't know if you can tell, but there is no script, okay? I am just looking at my screen. I have made a presentation and I'm just gonna show you whatever I've come up with. There is no script at all, so I'm gonna be as real with you as possible. All right. So moving on to the first slide, we know that Raditz came to Earth, and Raditz's power is supposed to be over 1,200, right? The same as the Cyberman's powers. So the best thing that I think we should do is to lowball the power levels as much as possible for it to be realistic. So let's just say that Raditz's power level is 1,200. Okay. And speaking of power levels, there are two things that you need to know. Number one being that there are certain techniques that have nothing to do with power level. For example, solar flare. Yes, you need ki to pull off a solar flare, and yes, I know that in Dragon Ball Super, the anime, Krillin pulled off solar flare times 100, probably because he had that much ki. I get that. But techniques don't always have anything to do with power level, right? And the second thing is that speed is not necessarily related to power level as well. Prime example being Dispo. Dispo was faster, but his power level was lesser, so he was not as strong as Goku, Jiren and the others during the Tournament of Power, but he was really fast. And I'm not saying that speed and strength have nothing to do with power level. An increase in power level does increase speed and strength, but not significantly. Okay, it's not super significant. So you can either train your muscles to the bone, and that is how your physical strength will increase, or you can just practice running, I guess, I don't know, like 5,000 times around the earth to improve your speed. You get that? That's the whole reason why the characters train. It's not just to increase their power level, it's also to increase their strength and their speed. So while strength and speed does increase with increase in power level, it is not as much as you think. Okay, moving on. So we have come to the conclusion that Raditz had a power level of 1,200. Now, I'm gonna talk about something that is a little bit controversial: domination multipliers. So domination multipliers is a thing that you will probably find only in Saiyan Scholars videos. Okay, and the only reason I'm going to be using them is because I believe it is the best way to judge how much stronger someone is. It's the best way to you know understand what someone's power level is. Is it consistent? No, it's not always consistent, but more or less it is. It's like, I would say, 75% consistent. And without domination multipliers, I will not be able to give you the most accurate power level readings that I can for the future arcs like the Cell arc and the Boo arc, where there are no numbers, right? So we have to come up with numbers on our own. Domination multipliers is the best way to do that. And like I said, it's more or less 75% accurate. Okay, and it also makes sense. And I'll show you all the moments where it makes sense and where it doesn't make sense. Okay, because let's think about it logically, right? If you have the same power level as someone else, you are evenly matched. But if you have, let's say, a bunch of extra techniques at your disposal, then you might just have the edge in battle. That's why I said that techniques are not necessarily related to power level. So if you are 1.25 times stronger than your opponent, you can start to overwhelm them, which makes sense to me. If you're 1.5 times stronger than an opponent, it is easier to overwhelm them. If you're 1.75 times stronger, then you can dominate your opponent. If you are 2 times stronger, then you can tank attacks from your opponent unhurt. Okay, and if you're 2.25 times stronger, then you can use your ki and power to literally manipulate the opponent. For example, in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, do you remember that scene where Goku had used God Ki to bind Broly, and then Broly kind of like just converted Goku's ki into his own and then binded Goku instead? So at that point, it is very safe to assume that Broly was 2.25 times stronger than Goku because he could manipulate Goku's ki literally. Okay. All right. So yeah, now that that is out of the way, we will be using domination multipliers. I will admit whenever it's consistent and whenever it's not. Okay. Yeah. Moving on. So Raditz was 1200. Let's start from the beginning. He came to Earth. He abducted Gohan. And when Gohan was in the pod, Raditz read that his power level was 710. So at this point, we all know that power levels can be manipulated using emotions. I get that. But over here, Gohan was not in his fit of rage yet. So I do believe that this is what his latent power level was, his base power level was. Some people believe that his power level was 1 because after he attacked Raditz, it went back to 1. But I just think that was him running out of ki. Okay, so I feel like Kid Gohan's base power level was 710. Okay, as you can see in the reading over here. So moving on, Goku and Piccolo head over to Raditz, and Raditz reads that their power levels are 322 and 334. And how do I know that Goku is 334? You'll see. Okay, so as you can see, I have written over here that Goku weights is 334 and Piccolo weights is 322 because at this point they were wearing weighted clothing. And I kid you not, even I was surprised when I found out about this. Weighted clothes do have an effect on power level, as you can see in the next slide. So Goku took off his t-shirt and his power level shot up to 416, and Piccolo took off his weighted gear and his power level jumped to 408. So as you can see, 416 is obviously bigger than 408, which is why it makes sense that Goku had the higher power level here. So Goku was 334 and Piccolo was 322. They removed their weighted clothing and their power levels jumped to 416 and 408 respectively. And what is surprising is I did the math. As you can see, Goku went from 334 to 416, which is a 1.24 times boost. Piccolo went from 322 to 408, which is a 1.26 times boost. So more or less it is consistent that we can give weighted clothes a multiplier of 1.25. And then people will argue, they'll be like, oh, but what about in the future? Like in the future, weighted clothes don't even matter that much. And I was thinking, right, why does Piccolo still wear weighted clothing? Obviously, he increases the weight the stronger he gets, so that he's constantly under training, right? It makes sense because, for example, if I can lift a 100 kilo dumbbell, I can't, by the way, I'm just saying, if I can lift a 100 kilo dumbbell very easily, and when I'm stronger, obviously I'm going to move to 200 kilos, right? So obviously, whenever in the future characters wear weighted clothing, the weight is significantly much higher So more or less, the weighted clothes multiplier should be consistent. So I'm just gonna say weighted clothes multiplier is 1.25 times, and in the future, whenever we see someone talking about weighted clothing and whenever they remove it, I'm gonna give them a 1.25 times boost. Okay. Moving on. So Goku then charged up his Kamehameha, and that raised his power level to 924. So I think how this works is, as you can see in the bottom left, Raditz is saying he can somehow focus his ki into a single point. So it's like pressure, right? The smaller the area, the more the pressure. So I think because Goku is concentrating his ki into a small point, it is increasing the pressure of the ki, and then the reading is going up to 924. That's how it works. So we know that Goku's Kamehameha was 924, and basically Goku's reading went from 416 to 924, which is exactly 2.22 times boost. So we know that a Kamehameha's multiplier is 2.2 times. Okay, a basic Kamehameha's multiplier is 2.2 times. So in the future, whenever Goku is using a Kamehameha, like a normal Kamehameha, we are gonna multiply his power level by 2.2 just to see how much output it really is. Okay, and the funny thing is that the only attacks that are for sure hell-bent on power levels are ki-based attacks, because ki is pure power, right? Moving on. Piccolo was also doing his special beam cannon, also known as the Makanko Sapo, right? And his power level jumped to 1330. And by doing the math, his reading went from 408 to 1330, which is a 3.26 times multiplier. And we are gonna lowball it to 3.25 times. So we know that the special beam cannon is a 3.25 times multiplier. Okay, moving on to Gohan. Now Gohan became enraged at this point. You can see how the panel is red behind him, so you know he's enraged. His power level jumped to 1307. Okay, and so I came up with a thing called rage multiplier. So Gohan went from 710 to 1307, which is a 1.84 times. So I'm just gonna call this the rage multiplier, which is 1.85 times. And this boost might only be consistent with Gohan, because Gohan is the only one who has that special kind of rage. We have seen other characters become angry before, and we have seen that when they become angry or emotional, their power levels increase. But I feel like Gohan is a separate case, because Gohan's rage literally brings out all his latent potential, right? So I believe that this multiplier should only work for Gohan, and I'm still not sure about this. In the future, I will see how consistent this is and how consistent it is not. Okay. So moving on. So yeah, when Bulma fixed the scouter, she checked out the power levels of everyone. So she said Roshi was 139, Krillin was 206, Yamcha was 177, and Tien was 250. It is all confirmed in the manga. So moving on. When Vegeta and Nappa came to Earth, they said that there is something strange. There are readings over 1,000, more than one of them, right? Vegeta said, "Don't worry about it. They are not our enemies. Just look for the ones with the highest rating." And he found the two highest ones. Yeah, and so those two people were Gohan and Piccolo. And while Vegeta and Nappa were going to Gohan and Piccolo, Krillin also joined them. Okay, so now this is something exciting that I found out, right? The Daizenshu states that Gohan's power in the Saiyan saga is 981. Okay, so you can see Nappa saying over here 981, 1220, and 1083. So most people assume that he's going from left to right. So 981 being Gohan on the left, 1220 being Piccolo in the middle, and 1083 being Krillin on the right. But just here, Vegeta literally told him to ignore all the lower power levels and focus on the two highest ones, right? And the two highest ones that were clumped together were just Gohan and Piccolo at that moment, which makes sense that Gohan was actually at a power level of 1083 and Piccolo was at a power level of 1220. Now you must be wondering that if Gohan had a base power of 710 and Piccolo only was 408, how did Piccolo become stronger than Gohan? I believe it's because during Gohan's training, he spent the first 6 months just trying to survive, while Piccolo spent the entire year training, right? So I believe Piccolo had like a full-on jump from 408 to 1220, while Gohan jumped from 710 to 1083. So yeah, the Daizenshu was basically wrong. Daizenshu said that Gohan was 981, but I have just proved it to you that Gohan is 1083, because those were the two highest power levels clumped together, right? And that is why Vegeta and Nappa went to them. So there's no way Gohan was 981. I do believe Gohan was the one at 1083 at that point. So Krillin went from 206 to 981, and he trained at Kami's lookout, and he trained with Tien and Yamcha over there as well. So since all three of them had the exact same training, I'm going to give them all the exact same multiplier. So Kami's 1 year training raised Krillin's power from 206 to 981, which is a 4.76 times boost. I'm going to lowball it to 4.75 just to keep things simple, right? So I'm going to multiply Tien and Yamcha's powers by 4.75. So Tien is at 1190.5 and Yamcha is at 843, right? Which beautifully makes sense because Yamcha was the first one to die. He died to Cybermen, and Nappa is much stronger than all of them, and so he was easily able to beat Tien. The only person whose power level I could not find out was Chaozu's, because all Chaozu really did was blow up and it didn't do much to Nappa, and we don't know what his power level was before Kami's training even started. So there is no way like for me to figure out what his power level was. And it doesn't even matter that much because he doesn't do much in the series from this point on. Okay, yeah, so now you can see that Gohan went into a rage. This happened after Piccolo died. So we're gonna, multiply his power level by 1.85 for the rage boost that we calculated back then. And that comes out to be 2003.55. And then when Gohan launched his Masenko, his power level was 2800. So doing the normal math, we know that if Gohan's power went from 2003 to 2800, it was a 1.39 times power boost. So we know that the multiplier for a basic Masenko is 1.4. Okay. So yeah, moving on to domination multipliers, we are gonna now finally use the domination multipliers to figure out what Nappa's power level is. It is never stated what his power level is. The Daizenshu says that his power level was 4000, which is pretty acceptable, yes, but I tried to do my own calculations just to figure out what I think his power level is. Okay, and I think my version does make a little bit more sense. So yeah, as you can see here, 1.75 times is high-end domination, right? 2 times is tank attacks unheard. When Gohan launched that Masenko, Nappa could not tank it because as you can see, his arm is actually hurt. He even said that his arm stings a little bit, right? So I don't think he could tank Gohan's 2800. So we know that Nappa is at the very least 1.75 times stronger than Gohan's 2800, which actually brings his power level to 4900. Okay, so I'm gonna state that Nappa in the Saiyan saga had a power level of 4900, and this makes sense later because he gets kicked by Gohan, and then when Goku comes in, Goku has a power level of 8000. It's not 9000, it's 8000. Okay, according to the manga, it's 8000. And if you do the math, that means that he is almost like 1.6 times stronger than Nappa at that point, and then which basically means, according to domination multipliers, that it was very easy for Goku to overwhelm Nappa, and that's exactly what he does. He stands on his head and all that, he was easily overwhelming Nappa, and then he kicked Nappa 3 times because Nappa did not take Goku seriously, and he did not believe that Goku's power level was actually 8000. And then in the next chapter, Nappa became angry and decided to take Goku seriously. But by this point, Goku had already kicked Nappa like 3 times. One for Piccolo, one for Chaozu, one for Yamcha. So he like basically hit him quite hard. And that dropped Nappa's power level so much that Goku was able to tank all his attacks unhurt. Goku was even able to actually manipulate Nappa's power because Nappa shot a beam at him and Goku just like brushed it aside without a sweat. Like he didn't just tank it, he like used his ki to disperse it. So we know that Nappa's power level dropped significantly when Goku beat the crap out of him. But yeah, Nappa is at a power level of 4900. As you can see here in the manga, Goku's power level was over 8000, but we are lowballing, like I said, so we're just gonna keep it at 8000. Okay, Goku's power level was 8000, which means that when Goku used the Kaioken technique, his power level went up to 16,000 for Kaioken times 2, and for Kaioken times 3 it went up to 24,000. Everyone knows the table of 8s, 8 to the 16, 8 to the 24. Bulma also confirms it, because when Goku goes Kaioken times 3, the scouter reads 17, 19, 21, and it then breaks, which means that his power was definitely above 21,000, and simple math tells us that his power level was 24,000, which is perfect. Okay, moving on to Vegeta. So in the Frieza saga, Dodoria says that even at his very best, Vegeta couldn't be more than 18,000. So we're gonna say that Vegeta during the Saiyan saga was 18,000, and Vegeta says that Goku's power level has exceeded my own, which makes sense because Kaioken times 2, 16,000 is not greater than Vegeta's power, but Kaioken times 3, 24,000 is greater than 18,000. So yes, Goku's power level exceeded Vegeta's over here. And yeah, so if you do the math, if you do 24,000 by 18,000, we know that Goku was exactly 1.33 times stronger than Vegeta at that point. 1.33 is between 1.25 and 1.5. So Goku was in the middle of starting to overwhelm and easy to overwhelm Vegeta, right? According to the domination multipliers, which makes sense. That's exactly how the battle was going. Goku was slightly stronger, and he had started to overwhelm him, and he even hit him hard. That is when Vegeta realized that Goku's power level is higher than his own. It makes sense. This is consistent with the domination multipliers as of right now. So alright, moving on. Finally, Goku used a Kamehameha. At that point, Goku was using Kaioken times 3. So his power level was 24,000. Multiply that by the 2.2 times of the Kamehameha, and that comes out to be 52,800. And Vegeta said that Goku's blast is exactly like my Gallic gun, and they both met in the middle, so they were both emitting the exact same amount of power. Okay, which means Vegeta's Gallic gun was also a 52,800. So which means Vegeta's reading went from 18,000 to 52,800, which is 2.93. Okay, which means the Gallic gun multiplier is more or less 3 times. Okay, that is the multiplier for Gallic gun, which is what we will be using in the future. And then Goku used Kaioken times 4, which raised his power level to 32,000, and that raised his Kamehameha's power to 70,400. And once again, if you use domination multipliers, 70,400 divided by 52,800 is 1.33 once again, which means his Kamehameha was strong enough to overwhelm Vegeta's Gallic gun. And it's just like it said, the Kamehameha started pushing Vegeta's Gallic gun back, and ultimately it hit Vegeta. So far, the domination multipliers are working in our favor. Then finally, Vegeta transformed into his Great Ape form, which, as you can see on the left, power of a Saiyan in their Ozaru form is 10 times greater than before, so it is confirmed by the manga itself that a Great Ape is 10 times stronger. So Vegeta, who had originally a power level of 18,000, is now at 180,000. And guys, I know that the characters are injured at this point. I know that their power levels have reduced to create like the blood swave ball, like the power ball that releases the blood swaves. That itself took away a lot of Vegeta's energy. So I know that at this point in the fight, their power levels are not at their maximum, right? But the power levels that I'm showing you are just theoretically their full powers at this point in time. So if Vegeta was at full power and he transformed into a Great Ape, his power level would be 1,800. His power level would be 180,000. Similarly, Goku said that not even a 5 times Kaioken would be enough to make a difference, and a 5 times Kaioken Goku would have a power level of 40,000, and he's right, because 40,000 is not even close to 180,000. It does not even fall in any of the domination multiplier categories at all. So Great Ape Vegeta would like completely destroy Kaioken times 5 Goku, and Goku knows it. And the reason why I'm telling you what their power levels would be when they are at full power rather than telling you what they are right now when they are damaged is because it is much simpler to understand who's stronger and why when you're talking about their best power levels. The only time it really matters to check what their power levels currently are is when one of the two people have suffered a seriously grave injury. Okay, at this point, Goku had been using the Kaioken and he had destroyed his body a little bit, and he also got hurt by Vegeta. Similarly, Vegeta also took a beating from Goku and also lost against Goku's Kamehameha. And at the same time, if you remember, the Gallic gun was 3 times his original power, so Vegeta expended a lot of power there as well. So yeah, in fights like this, it is okay to assume that both of them are at a consistent level of power, so it's completely fine to talk about what their actual full powers are, right? Not battle damage power. If you look at the OG Dragon Ball fight between Goku and Piccolo, when Goku got seriously injured, like he got impaled through the chest. So there it is like a actually serious wound which has affected Goku's power levels so greatly that it is not at all what it was before, and Piccolo was still okay enough. So that is when in situations like that is when we would, you know, consider what their power levels are while they are fighting rather than what they would be if they were at full power. So in the Saiyan saga, it's very consistent. So full power Great Ape Vegeta is 180,000. Kaioken times 5 Goku will be 40,000, right? Now Gohan also transformed into a Great Ape. Yes, he is battle damaged, but again we're talking about full powers. So if Gohan was at full power, his Great Ape would have been at a 10,830. And at that point, yes, Vegeta was way more battered up than Gohan was because Gohan had even been given a Senzu Bean. Yes, Vegeta did kick the crap out of Gohan, but this is after he had transformed back into a Saiyan from an Uzaru form. He had lost a lot of power in creating the Power Ball. He had lost a lot of power fighting Goku. He had lost a shit ton of power. So even if Gohan was beaten up, Gohan's power level, thanks to the Senzu, was still okay enough. So that is why when Great Ape Gohan fell on top of Vegeta, it completely put him out of commission because Vegeta was so spent, all his power level was drained, he just couldn't do anything, right? So far everything is consistent, it makes sense, and it should make sense because this is the arc where power levels were introduced for the first time. But we still managed to prove the Daizenshu wrong about two things. One being that Gohan's power level was actually 1083 and not 981, and the other being that Nappa's power level was not 4000 but 4900. I do agree that it makes sense for his power level to be 4000 as well. Okay, it is totally believable that his power level was 4000. It is well within the range of all the domination multipliers and everything. But, you know, just to be a little bit more consistent to my reading, the way I am doing things, I want to say that Nappa was 4900. Also, the fact that one punch from Nappa literally cut off Tien's arm, that itself proves that his power level is significantly higher than Tien's. Okay. So yeah, 4900 is something that I'm totally okay with. Alright, so that is the end of the Saiyan saga, and these are the final base power levels. So we know that Vegeta's base power level was 18,000, highest. Second place comes Goku with 8,000. Third place is Nappa with 4,900. Fourth place Piccolo with 1,220. Fifth place Tien with 1,190.5. Sixth place Gohan with 1083, 7th place Krillin with 981, and 8th place Yamcha with 843. These are the base power levels, guys, base power levels of the Saiyan saga, okay? And just for a little bit of fun, let's look at the top 5 Saiyan saga top 5. So Great Ape Vegeta is number 1 at 180,000. Then Kaioken times 4 Goku at 32,000. Great Ape Gohan at 3rd place with 10,830. Nappa at 4th place with 4,900. And Piccolo in the 5th place at 1220. Okay, guys, so obviously the next video is gonna be about the Namek saga, the Frieza saga, and in that video we are gonna touch upon Zenkai boosts, which is a very important thing. I'm kind of really excited to figure out if there is a consistent multiplier for Zenkai boosts, and if there is, then great, you know. And the only way we can find out if it's consistent or not is obviously in the future if things go according to the numbers. So yeah, I believe there is gonna be a Zenkai boost multiplier, and we will also talk about the Super Saiyan multiplier. The Daizenshu said that it's 50 times Goku's base power, but I mean, you know, the Daizenshu has already been wrong twice. So I wonder what my multiplier for the Super Saiyan transformation will be. This is going to be exciting. I am really excited for this. So if you want to see more, please leave a like, please, subscribe. And thank you so much to Saiyan Scholar for inspiring me to make this video. And I recently heard about what happened to his channel. YouTube did not pay him any money. So screw you, YouTube. And it actually kind of like motivated me to make this video even more, because I wanted to, I guess, continue Saiyan Scholar's legacy on YouTube, because he's quitting YouTube. He's moving to Patreon now. So in a way, I'm continuing his legacy by doing my own power scale videos. And there are some more videos that I have in mind. I will definitely release them if you guys show me all the love and support. Okay. I know that I am primarily a gaming channel, but because I love Dragon Ball and I want to do things like this, I want to nerd out with you guys. Hence this video. I hope you liked my first power scale video, and I hope you look forward to my future Dragon Ball videos. Thanks for watching. Leave a like, subscribe. Thunderbolt out.